Good morning. Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and all the tips to help you on your fitness, your health, and your fat loss journey. And I'm going to get myself live on the gram. Make sure that yep, it is working. Sorry if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook and had to hear that. Good morning. If it does not officially feel like winter, like holiday season. I live in Florida, so we don't get a lot of the cold weather, but it is like not humid outside, and just the vibes right now after Halloween are I'm just in that state of just a lot of people in the north struggle with like the seasonal affective disorder, the depression. I feel this overwhelming sense of calm, and I started feeling it last week. And I don't know if it's a seasonal thing, but I know that right now I don't want to do anything to mess it up because I feel really good, really focused, which is something that I often struggle with. I do full transparency. I know I'm going to even talk about today's topic, but like I know I struggle with a little bit of OCD and ADHD, and some of it is a gift and other parts of it are a curse. But right now, I feel like I'm just in my flow. Like I'm not in a rush and it just feels good. There is a part of me that's like, I was talking to one of my friends, like, okay, when is the breaking point coming? Because I'm feeling pretty good. Anyways, I hope that you guys are all starting off your day good. Good morning, Jody Lynn. I'm assuming that's Jody because your name now says Jalen. So I'm assuming that's a new kind of like a J Lo, but like a Jalen. By the way, my middle name is Lynn. I'm not sure if Lynn is your middle name, but my middle name is Lynn as well. So kind of twinsies, kind of not. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about this thing that if you truly have goals to optimize metabolism, optimize your hormones, optimize your body composition. And when I talk body composition, I'm talking you want to lose weight, you want to lose body fat, you want to build muscle, you want to optimize performance, you want to figure out why you're starving all the time, why you have so much food noise, why you can't stop binging. If you want to track the one thing that gives you the one thing that is going wrong, we're going to talk about that today. And I'm teasing a little bit here because I like to get a little bit of a lead up, right? That's the whole goal. You can't give everything away in the beginning because you're not going to stay till the end. No, I'm not going to wait till the end to disclose it. But guys, it's so important to understand that there is so much snake oil and so many distractions out there from the things that actually matter. And even the things in your brain that are stopping you from doing the basic things because you focus on the other things that feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to tell you right now that this one thing is going to give you power. And I'm going to start with my own personal journey of how I started tracking this one thing. Okay. And it goes back to when I was 19 years old, living the good old life as a college sophomore-ish, because my college years were kind of weird. I finished my AA degree before high school. So I went into college already in my third year. So it was kind of a weird thing. So my first year away at school, I was living the life, drinking when I shouldn't have been drinking, eating what I wanted, kind of living the party life. Definitely was living on rice-a-roni and mac and cheese and all the processed foods, and put on about a good 20 to 30 pounds. And was like, I got to do something about it. So I started to work out. I started to eat a little bit cleaner. And once the newness of that wore off, because I made some good lifestyle changes, it was, what's next? And this very next thing became the one thing that gave me control. But it's also the one thing that 21 years later still matters. Throughout all of this time, all of the things that come and go, all of the different trends, all the things that you tried, I promise you that this one thing will never, ever change. Like anything you see, this one thing will never change. But a lot of people don't understand how to assess and how to change and optimize. Like you don't know what to do once you're doing this one thing. Okay, so let's just go right into it. All right. A couple of episodes ago, I talked about how to optimize calories and macronutrients, how to figure out how much you should be eating, and also the macronutrient breakdown of those things. I think I talked about that in that episode. I got to kind of remind myself. But if you want to be tracking one thing right now, of all the things, okay, track your food. All right. Track your food. Track your food. And that's what this episode is going to be about. Okay. This is not about you tracking macros. This is not about you avoiding sugar. This is not about you being in a calorie deficit. It is understanding how to track your food, because the one thing that matters most is your calorie intake. All of the other things matter, but nothing matters near as much as how many calories you are consuming. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about some misconceptions. So if you're already telling yourself you're tuning out because you're hearing, I don't want to be meticulously weighing everything. I got to deal with my kids. She's telling me that I got to be tracking my food. I can't track every morsel. I did that. I'm going to explain to you what this looks like. And I'm going to use some other analogies. So I want you to buckle up and know that I'm going to give you the tools that you need right now to make that very simple, but also explain to you why it matters so much. Okay. Why it matters for everything. Now, obviously, not everybody listening to my podcast episode or watching me live is going to have the same issues, right? Some of you guys are dealing with a lot more complex issues, metabolic issues, blood sugar issues, digestion or gut related issues, weight loss resistance. Some of you guys are dealing with, stuff related to your relationship with food. It's like you're always afraid of eating too much, or you're eating too much and you're not realizing it. You're judging yourself over certain things because you feel like you're not supposed to be having them. There's so many reasons why, you should just be looking at what you're actually consuming on a daily basis before thinking about what you think you're supposed to be doing. Because guess what? You probably don't really know what you're supposed to be doing, because you are paying attention to what everybody else is telling you what you should be doing, rather than paying attention to what your body is telling you based on what you're doing. Okay. So when we talk about calories, all right, why are we talking about tracking our food and calories? Well, why do we track food? Okay. If you want to troubleshoot why something's not working, knowing what you're feeding the thing that's not working is probably pretty important. Okay. If you're all of a sudden realizing that you're negative in your bank account every single week, but you're not tracking where you're spending any of your money, what's the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to want to try and figure out where you're spending all of your money so that you can start to make smarter purchasing decisions, right? It's the same thing here. Or maybe on the opposite, maybe you've been avoiding looking at your bank account because you're so worried about running out of money that you have not been giving yourself permission to spend money on things that maybe you actually need or want. And you've been living in a constant state of restriction because you feel like you don't have enough money to buy those things. And then one day you wake up and you decide to look at your bank account and you realize, oh my gosh, I got more money than I realized. I actually can afford to go get myself a new pair of shoes or get my nails done today, right? Like, it gives you some empowerment. So just tracking makes sense. And then knowing your calorie needs, okay? Now, when we talk about, like I mentioned, all of the things that might be going on with your body, whether it's gut, whether it's metabolism, whether it's you're gaining weight, your energy's shitty, your workouts feel crappy, or your relationship with food is all messed up, okay? When you're tracking your food and you know what your body actually needs, it now no longer becomes this, I can't figure things out. You're figuring things out and you can start to adjust. It's not just following a plan that might not even be something that you need. It's in fact, I had a call with somebody yesterday and she was like, well, do you give a meal plan? I'm like, well, the first step is you're going to track your food and I'm going to take a look at the types of foods you like so that we can build a meal plan together. Because me just writing you out a meal plan on foods that you don't really enjoy isn't really going to help you. But if I see that you guys get Mexican food 3 times a week, I can now know that you like Spanish food or Mexican food, and we can start to work on building some meals that have those flavors in them that you're going to enjoy, that are going to work for you, right? So it's like, this is where, but rather than just overhauling her entire diet, we're just going to make her current meals a little bit more in line with what her body needs. Okay. So you got to know that when you're tracking, it's not because you're trying to adhere to somebody else's protocols. I'm tracking to find my protocol. Okay. So I'm going to just go over to my notes because none of what I've talked about so far is even based on my notes. But guys, I also really want to emphasize that this is not about obsessing over like numbers. Okay. So this is also a huge pitfall. And why a lot of people, when you guys heard me talk about tracking my food, you instantly were like, tune out. I'm done. I did that for a whole 6 months, got lean, but then I couldn't maintain it. You were eating by numbers. You were eating by numbers. You were not learning how to just see the numbers as data. And I'm going to go back to the money analogy. Okay. You don't just spend your money because it's there, right? It's not like, oh, I have $1,000 in the bank account, so how do I want to spend it today? It's no, you know how much you have, you know what you need to spend to do the things you have to do in life, whether it's gas in the car, whether it's paying your rent, whether it's paying your electric bill, you know, the normal expenses. And then, you know, you have some extra left over in case you want something. That is what tracking your food should be about. And it should not be about numbers. It's about, I got the baselines covered. I don't have to be obsessive to do that. I know that if I've been doing it long enough to know, okay, I've built awareness that 4 ounces of chicken is about 35 grams of protein. So if I have 4 ounces of chicken, that's a pretty decent meal, right? Like, it's building awareness. It's not living to dial things in every single day. And again, like I mentioned with the money analogy, you got a little left over, you want dessert. It's no longer, oh, I can't have dessert. This is how dessert fits into the plan. I've covered all my expenses for my body and I got a little bit left over. I'm not going to have another sweet potato and almond butter. I'm going to have a chocolate chip cookie and I'm going to call it a night. Like, that is the beauty of this. Okay. But you got to be tracking first. So tracking your food. All right. So it's not about obsessing about numbers. All right. Now let's talk a little bit more about the more detailed piece of this that matters. When you are tracking your food, okay, there are different applications for it. So if you are tracking your food because you are just trying to make sure that you are eating enough to maintain, this is the best thing for most of you guys out there this time of year as we're getting into the holiday season. And maybe you're feeling stressed about a lot of the like social things that are going to be coming up. And you want to be able to enjoy those things, but you also don't want to put on 10 pounds and you don't want to feel guilty about it. Or maybe you're somebody that gets so stressed about eating that you'll have those couple of meals out, but then the next thing you know, you're restricting yourself for 3 or 4 days just to make up for it, right? When you're tracking your food and you're keeping a loose budget, you actually have the power to make sure that you're maintaining things. It should really be about, like I mentioned, covering the basics of your nutrients. And this is where I think a lot of people go wrong, is you jump right into calories and macros and meal timing and all this stuff, right? Like, just knowing, all right, I'm learning how to get enough calories and enough of proteins and carbs and fats in my meals, but I'm not obsessing over it. Okay. I'm just learning how to make small little changes that are going to impact things. So like right now you're like, I'm not looking to get into a calorie deficit. Maybe you're not looking to get into a calorie deficit right now. The best thing you can do is, if you know you want to lose weight, just optimizing, you might naturally put yourself in a little bit of a deficit, because chances are, if you're overeating a little bit right now and you start to dial things in, you're going to naturally settle in at about maintenance and your body's going to start to respond. In fact, I would bet that if you just simply dialed in your nutrition and you put yourself in a slight calorie deficit, you would not feel restricted. You would not feel any negative impact of like hormones, metabolism, energy levels, performance changes. And in 12 to 16 weeks from now, you will be lighter than you are right now without ever putting in a ton of effort, without ever feeling you were on a fat loss phase. Like you truly would start to slowly lose weight. Would it be slow and gradual? Yes. But would it actually not feel like you're changing anything? Exactly. So you would naturally lose weight without even trying. But instead, you go right into like, I got to get into a cut phase and I got to go to like 1600 calories. And that's going to work for me for like 8 to 12 weeks. And then I'm going to fizzle out, right? Like you got to know how to optimize. Okay. Because not all calories are created equal. So we're tracking calories, but we're learning how to optimize things because, like, let's be real, 100 grams of chicken breast and 100 grams of chocolate cake are two very different things. However, on that day where you have a winter party, you know what? If you have a 2100 calorie budget and that day, you're getting 1,000 calories from fats and carbs because that's just what you wanted that day, it's one day. What you do on a normal basis is what matters most, okay? So you want to be tracking things. The other thing I think we need to cover here is I already talked a little bit about the over-reliance on numbers. And I think that this just comes down to when you guys are tracking your food, you should be tracking it to build awareness around the food, not tracking it to build awareness around the numbers. And this is where I think, unless you plan on eating by numbers for the rest of your life, if you truly want to eat by macros for the rest of your life, then by all means, eat by numbers. But instead, it should be like, all right, like for instance, I made breakfast. I have pretty much the same breakfast every single day. I have egg whites with broccoli slaw. Sounds weird, okay, but it's delicious. You put the broccoli slaw in, let it saute a little bit. You add the egg whites. I add some low-fat cheese on top, and I like ketchup on mine. I've eaten ketchup on an egg since I was a kid, and it's amazing. It's great. It's a great high-volume breakfast, but I love it. But some days I might pour 180 grams in. Other days I might pour 225 grams in. It's just learning awareness. It's not about perfectionism. All right. So like you're learning to build that awareness around the foods that you know about how much is in that. Like my next meal is usually going to be like, it's going to be a protein and a carb because it's before my workout. But I know about at this point, if I have 200 grams of yogurt versus 200 grams of cottage cheese, about how much protein's in that. I've built enough awareness that I don't have to track it to ask myself that. That takes time. You're tracking to build that awareness. And that's what you should be thinking. I'm taking the time now to learn this so that I don't have to learn it again. So going back to my story, when I was 19 and I hit a plateau, I was like, I don't know why I'm not losing weight. And somebody, this was bad, but I think it might have been like a women's magazine and it said 1,200 calorie diet. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go on a 1,200 calorie diet. And that's what I did. And I just cut my calories back to 1,200. But then I also learned very quickly that protein was more satiating and higher in volume. And so were vegetables and fruits. And I would look for lower calorie, higher protein options. And that's how I ended up eating a higher protein diet. Like it was that easy for me, but it's not that easy for everybody because we tend to overthink everything, So you got to learn how to build some awareness. And over time, I started learning that. So you want to build awareness. And then I think the other thing here is if you are somebody who has a fear around calories, okay, calorie avoidance is just as bad as calorie obsession. All right. So this was also a part of my journey. I spent a long portion of my life saying, I don't care how many calories I'm eating because I'm just going to eat super clean. And I did the paleo thing. And it was like, if you're eating paleo, you're going to be healthy. You're going to have optimal body composition. So I avoided calories altogether and went down that rabbit hole. And I was like, I'm going to eat as much as I want, as long as it's clean. And I ended up gaining back about 30 pounds. And it was not fun because obviously when you've seen yourself at a body weight you feel good at, and then you watch your body slowly changing, it can be very hard, right? So I went down that rabbit hole. But a lot of you guys, when you do try and diet and you're going to the clean eating method, you don't pay attention to calories and you end up under eating. And that's honestly what happened to me. And it would cause me to overeat, or I would try and find satiation in clean foods that were high in calories. So maybe I was craving something carby, but rather than having a carb, I would like start trying to eat nuts, and nuts were like 2 times as caloric as the carb. And then I was eating way more of them because I wasn't getting what my body actually wanted. So clean eating is great as a foundation to get enough nutrients in, because a lot of times the foods you're consuming are very high in nutrients, but if you're not getting enough overall calories, it could bite you in the ass. So you want to make sure that you're not under eating. Okay. This is not about restriction. This is about how much does my body need? And we're constantly testing the waters with that to make sure that you're getting enough to fuel your lifestyle. All right. So we can talk about lifestyle as well, but let's kind of keep going with this trend here. Okay. So let's talk about how to start to track effectively without being obsessive. I have been tracking my food consistently since 2014. So 11 years. Have I tracked perfectly every day? No. Have I eyeballed things at times? Yes. Have I been consistent with that? Have my calories changed? Yes. Okay. A lot of things have changed since then, but I have been able to track my food just like you guys have a bank statement that tells you where you're spending all of your money every single month, right? I have data to show what I've been eating every single month. And I can actually, it's been actually very helpful for me to look back at my training and my nutrition and how those things have changed since I've aged, and what differences my body has made on a body composition level based on the changes in how much I'm eating and how much I'm training and all that stuff. So if you're trying to get into tracking, or you've tracked in the past and you're trying not to be obsessive with it, I want to give you guys some tips now to get into it. And if you're already tracking your food, I will also tell you, if you're listening to this episode, you're like, yeah, I'm tracking, but I'm not getting results. I'm going to go over some of the things that might be happening. So let's first start off by talking about, if you are someone that's hearing this, you're like, okay, I know I need to be tracking, but I just feel like I'm an all or nothing person, or it feels overwhelming. Let me just start by telling you that whenever you're starting a new habit, it's not going to be natural. It's not going to feel easy because you've not done it before. It's just like a new skill that you're learning. You're going to have to be a little bit more thoughtful about it, right? It's a new thing you're putting into your day, and it's not going to take you very much time. The first week or two will take you a little bit longer because it's something brand new, and you might have to spend a little bit more time figuring out how to use your food scale, figuring out how to find the right entries and all that stuff, right? It's just the beginning phases of it. You have to know what to watch out for in terms of tracking inaccuracies. And this is where you can either do your homework, or that's what I do with my clients. I help them kind of make that easier. So rather than, if I see something that doesn't look right, I help them make the right adjustments to things when they're like eating out or whatnot. It just makes it easier for them. I try and make the journey of getting into tracking much easier, but you can do it on your own. It just requires you to kind of know that it's going to be maybe a little bit more time consuming in the beginning. Put the work up front to give yourself autonomy long-term. Okay. So the first step is really trying to just look at overall totals, not stressing so much about how many calories you should be eating and all that kinds of stuff. Then you want to be able to optimize, obviously making sure that your food quality, that you're getting enough nutrients, you're getting enough protein, still not really stressing about what about like my macro split and all that kinds of stuff. And you also want to start to learn to pay attention to how the foods you're consuming is making you feel, energy wise, hunger wise, workout wise, and not just like subjective to your overall day, but also by meals. Like, okay, how do you feel? So if you're eating a lunch of like a salad, and then like you notice that every day between 3 and 4, you're starving and you're, raiding the M&M jar, or you're, looking for coffee. It might be that you're not getting enough nutrients at lunch. So you can start to make adjustments to eat a little bit more calories at lunchtime. Okay. We're looking at just kind of tracking your overall spending. And then we're looking to make layers of changes so that you're not changing everything at once. Also, this is where you guys can get comfortable. If you do have like social meals or you're going out, like starting to realize how calorically those things might be impacting your overall calorie budget per the week. So a lot of people like to isolate meals to days, and that's, your body doesn't work that way. Just like if you saved money on Monday and Tuesday, but you overspent money on Saturday and Sunday, you can't undo all that money is spent, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to recognize how those days might be factoring into your overall weekly budget and making sure that you're making that your priority, not stressing so much about single days or single meals. Okay. But that's really the main things here. The biggest thing that I want you guys to hear is that if you are struggling because you're like, I need to figure out what I need to do to lose weight. I need to figure out what I need to do to, like, my hormones are a mess, my gut's a mess, I have horrible appetite control. Like, you're trying to figure out all of these things. Before diving into anything, just track your food. Track your food. Like, give yourself no rules around it. Remove all of the rules and just simply track your food. From there, you need to know what to assess and what to adjust. And that you might feel very insecure with. That is what I do. That is what my profession is, helping you optimize what you're consuming to get you healthier, fitter, leaner, whatever your goals might be. That is exactly where having professional guidance on the things you don't know is going to help you. And it's funny, this is not what I meant to talk about today, but it made me think about this. You know, this morning I was just reflecting on how a lot of people, you know, they're sick. They go to the doctor. You pay $100 copay. You know, your car's broken. You go to the mechanic and you pay thousands of dollars, right? So many things people go to, and it's like, I got to pay money to get this fixed. But like, you don't want to spend any money to fix yourself. And I'll be honest, guys, I give away a ton of stuff for free. What I'm doing right now, I'm giving you guys exactly what you need to do for free. I'm not looking for anything in return. Okay. But I get so many people looking for like discounts and freebies and stuff like that. You can't go to the doctor and be like, hey, do you offer any discounts? Can you give me this for free? No, like, your doctor is going to be charging you for his professional guidance. And I just feel like in a lot of ways, being a nutrition professional, you know, people are like, oh, like, you're just going to set my macros. Like, that can't be that hard. Like, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not just going to set your macros. Like, this is what I do for a living. Okay. I am very skilled and educated with 21 plus years of experience doing nutrition for people like you. This is what I do. I have tons of studies in metabolism and hormones, tons of years of education and dedication to my craft. And it's something that I have to put out there. And I really don't like bitch about this kinds of stuff. And I'm not really bitching about it, but I want you to understand that, like, you know, maybe I am being a little bit more real right now than a doctor would be, but that's because that's who I am as a person. But what I do is a profession. This isn't like a side hustle or something that I do just to kind of help people out. Like, this is my career. I truly want you to live healthier, live leaner, get to your goals. I am very grateful for the profession that I have, but it is a profession. So I just had to put that out there. Now, I'm going to open up Instagram, YouTube, see if there's any questions or anything like that popping up in the chat. I don't see anything right now. So the next thing that I just wanted to quickly touch on before I close up shop today is I do have an upcoming workshop. We're doing it on, I forget the date now. I think it's next Thursday. I know that. The actual date, give me a second. I can tell you the actual date because I have my phone right here. The date is going to be, it is the 13th of November. Okay. I am doing a workshop, and this kind of segues onto, or is part of what I'm talking about today. I shouldn't say segue. It kind of tacks on to what I'm talking about today. You might be somebody who does have body composition goals, fat loss goals, but you've only ever really known doing it in a very restrictive way. Or maybe you're somebody who is really struggling with your relationship with food, and you feel like you have to choose between getting leaner, getting fitter, and your relationship with food. Because I see this all over social media. You know, there's a lot of women out there like, I'm going all in on my all-in journey of like fixing my relationship with food. And they're like putting on 30 pounds. And Do you know how scary that can look to somebody who knows that they need to fix their relationship with food, but they also don't want to put on 30 pounds? That's not really what I believe in. I truly believe in developing a healthy relationship with food as the way to actually getting better body composition. And with my methods that I teach, I know that I do help women learn how to stop being so obsessed with food and numbers and getting the results that they want for themselves. And if that sounds like something that you want to learn more about, I am doing a virtual event next Thursday. I did just check the date. It is the 13th at 4 p.m. EST. It is going to be recorded for those of you guys that cannot be there live. So I want you to think about, if you have a lot of thoughts in your head about nutrition, whether it's you get burned out, you get stressed, you feel like you're all or nothing, you have a hard time with binge eating, you don't know what you're allowed to have and what you can't have, you've got all of this food baggage and diet baggage up in your head, and you want somebody to help you pick it apart and tell you what actually matters, okay? I'm going to help you. We're going to be meeting up next Thursday. If you want to join us, there will be a link to the sign up in the show notes. If you're on Instagram and you're watching this and you want to sign up, just send me a DM so that I know that you want the invite, and I'll send it to you there personally. I'll also put it on my bio today as well, so you guys will have access to it there. I just haven't done that yet. But if you guys want to be a part of that, definitely would love to have more of you guys on there. You know, we can talk about really anything. It's just going to be a closed thing. That's why I'm going to ask you guys to DM me, because I know talking about this stuff is not easy. Talking about all of that stuff is really hard for a lot of women to be honest about. So if that's you and you want to be a part of that, please join in. It's next Thursday. And as somebody who still struggles with her relationship with food every single day, I do. I'm not going to put myself out there like I don't. I know how to rationalize things, but there's a lot of beliefs in my head that I still have to kind of counter. If that's you and you want to be a part of that, please join me next Thursday. I look forward to having you guys. And if you also want more help with applying, figuring out how much your body needs to be supporting your health, your hormones, your metabolism, and your fat loss goals, you could always reach out to me as well. I know I mentioned off a little tangent about what I do as a profession, but I do offer one-on-one strategy calls just to make sure that you understand how I do things and give you a little bit of insight as to what might be missing from your diet. So definitely hope to hear from some of you guys if this resonated with you today. But if you can take away one thing today, okay, before spending your time, effort, and energy on diets and macros and clean eating and all of this stuff, track your food. It is the power that you have in your hands to give you the results that you want without anybody else's opinion, only learning what your body actually needs. Okay, so make that the takeaway from today. And if you start doing that this week and you notice some things that you want some help with, also shoot me a message, because I love hearing that you guys, like, again, I give away a lot of shit. I love hearing that you guys took something that I said and you ran with it. Okay, so let's crush the first week of November. Can you believe that in just like what, not even 8 weeks, it's going to be a new year? You can end this year very strong by taking this one step today. You can end this year going into 2026 with exactly what you need to make 2026 your best year by starting right now. You don't need me to do that. All you got to do is start tracking your food. If you want to make it easier, having the professional guidance will help. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I will talk to you guys all on the next episode. Bye.